everyone, it's Naomi Wolf, and I'm here with Plamena Dimitrov. Welcome, Plamena.
Thank you, Naomi, for the invitation, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to your viewership.
Thank you. Plamena Dimitrov is the founder of Essential Teas, a tea company on a mission of providing tea blends specifically crafted to capture the healing properties of herbs, spices, dry fruit, nuts, and roots. It is more than just another tea company. By education, Plamena is a scientist and holds a master's degree in microbiology, a second master's degree in environmental biotech, and a PhD in microbiology and genetics from the University of Göttingen in Germany. What a slacker you are, Plamena. You've really wasted your time. After the completion of her PhD, she was a postdoctoral fellow at Stanford studying molecular mechanisms leading to formation and dissolution of biofilms. Wow. Plamena's research has been published in peer-reviewed journals. Plamena is originally from Bulgaria, where she grew up around people using natural remedies and learned at a young age the power of nature. These observations have shaped her current view about the importance of a balanced diet and including herbs, spices, fermented products, grains, nuts, raw vegetables, and fruits. So we are here to talk about Star Anise. I met Plamena. She is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say all the things that you are to us, Plamena, but she's a friend of DailyClout. Let's put it that way. You can add more if you want. And specifically, when I began to do these herbalism podcasts, Plamena reached out to Amy Kelly, the amazing Amy Kelly, and said, let's talk about Star Anise. So it is in that capacity that Plamena is joining us today. Welcome. So let's just jump right in. What led you to want to talk about Star Anise? Hey, everyone. It's Dr. Naomi Wolf. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to our valued partners at the Wellness Company. It's a time now when uncertainty is lurking everywhere. Preparedness is no longer an option at the margins. It's 100% necessary. And that's where the Wellness Company's Medical Emergency Kit comes in. The Wellness Company's Medical Emergency Kit contains crucial medications such as ivermectin, emergency antibiotics such as amoxicillin, antivirals, Z-Pak. The kit is backed by the expertise of the Wellness Company and their team of renowned medical professionals, including Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. James Thorpe, Dr. Harvey Risch, Dr. Drew Pinsky, and other truth-seeking, truth-telling doctors. They have created a kit that sets the gold standard for safety and prevention, the ultimate preparedness solution. Don't wait for a medical crisis to catch you or your family off guard. Visit DailyCloutHealth.com and use promo code DailyClout for an exclusive 10% discount. Take charge of your preparedness and enjoy peace of mind. And please do support our wonderful sponsors, the Wellness Company. I wrote a book about the corruption of the beauty industry when I was 26 years old. And I've never promoted any skincare line because I didn't believe that they had honesty and integrity. This is the first that we've accepted as a sponsor. Charlis is made by Charlene Bollinger, who has been a pioneer in natural remedies against cancer. And that's why I'm excited about this skincare line, because so many skincare products are toxic and have carcinogens or estrogen disruptors in them. In fact, the FDA says that you can call something non-toxic as long as it's only 49% toxic. So this is 100% non-toxic, and it is a luxury skincare line, but I think that it's very valuable nonetheless because it's got, like, the first ingredient after water is aloe barbadensis leaf juice, which is real aloe. There's citrus reticulata peel, which is orange peel. There's thyme vulgaris flower leaf extract, thyme extract. There's glycerin, which I've talked about. Here's Loki. On the Wellness and Beauty series that I'm doing, glycerin is so good for your skin. It's a secret that women knew in the 19th century would protect your skin. So that's why I'm thrilled that there are sponsors. You're putting this on your skin every day, and put something on your skin that will protect it and nourish it. So this is Naomi Wolf. I'm 61 years old, which I happily tell everybody because age doesn't worry me anymore since I've discovered all these non-toxic alternative remedies. Thank you, Charlotte's Beauty, for being our sponsor, and please support our wonderful sponsors at Charlotte's Beauty. Go to charlottes.beauty, promo code DailyClout, and enjoy this lovely product. Thank you.
So Star Anise is an amazing spice. It is one I did not grow up around. It was first in Germany, where I was doing my research, that I saw people using it and incorporating it as a spice in cooking. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anything about Star Anise until recently. I started blending different teas as part of finding the right blends for the teas that we offer. And Star Anise just jumped at me. It talks to me as flavor. It really is very, it has a very distinct aroma that I personally love the aroma of it. And it led me to learn more and more about it. And the more I learn, the more I am amazed about Star Anise. So I thought it is a very unappreciated spice because not a lot of people know the details. And so that was the idea of highlighting it and making it the star of your show today.
Fantastic. Well, I was so struck in your bio that you grew up in Bulgaria, and you grew up in a culture that was still using herbs medicinally, basically.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit about that before we get into Star Anise? I mean, we're really propagandized in North America to think of herbs and traditional remedies as like these weird, marginal, untested things. But Bulgaria, many places around the world, has an intact, like, ethno-medical tradition where people use herbs. Will you talk a little bit about that in your own upbringing?
Certainly. I remember, and the more I guess with age we start remembering things from our past, and they kind of start making more sense, as opposed to in my 20s when I kind of discounted them. Right. So I remember my grandmother on my father's side used to take infused oil with chicory flowers. Oh, wow. And she used to take it every night before bed, and she told me it was for her ulcers. I didn't know any better. Chicory to me, until pretty much 2 years ago, was just a weed. It's kind of a nuisance, right? Right. My other grandmother always put cinnamon in her tea, and we always made fun of her because we thought she was just cheap on on the coffee and on the tea, and she just added it to kind of, it's a chiller. But no, cinnamon is well known. And there are studies to speak to its health properties. And in fact, I have incorporated it my diet in the morning and in the evening with cinnamon tea. So those are the kinds of things I started remembering more and more the older I got.
So let's go back to your grandma who was taking chicory flower infused oil internally. Do you know what chicory is good for? Like, what was she doing, basically, scientifically or medically?
So I've read recently, because I've tried to incorporate it in my teas as well. Chicory root is more pronounced to have digestive powers. And in fact, if you have issues with digestion, I recommend, this is what I do. So it's my personal recommendation. Chicory coffee. So you buy the roasted chicory and just make coffee as though you were making regular coffee, with a little bit of milk, with a whole bunch of other spices to go along with it. It becomes quite a good drink, and it will cleanse your gut. That's for sure.
So you recommend it for conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, or is it good for ulcers? I mean, is it good for gastritis?
So I have to be a little bit careful because I know there's recommending for condition is a little bit too strong.
We're not allowed to say that people get arrested. Okay, historically,
exactly,
in cultural history, did people in Bulgaria use chicory for conditions like gastritis, ulcers? Will you mention that?
Based on what my grandma used to do, I would say people knew that chicory has something in it that helps with calming down your intestine, with ulcers, with healing your gut lining, etc. I think, and this, we can do another show just on chicory because I think it's so fascinating and it's so unappreciated. It's yet another weed, right?
Yes. Yes. And people used to use chicory in coffee just at the turn of the century in America to stretch it, and probably for its medicinal purposes as well. And then what about the other herb that you mentioned, cinnamon? What does cinnamon do historically? What is it?
Historically, and I think on cinnamon, I've seen more articles in peer-reviewed journals where cinnamon plays a role in lowering blood sugar.
Oh, yes.
And also in relaxing blood vessels. So for high blood pressure and definitely for diabetes. I would say that none of these herbs, and this is just a general disclaimer, I think it applies to all herbs. I think if people are in end-stage disease of any kind, like a really severe diabetes or hypertension that needs 5 different pills, I think to rely just on herbs is probably not the right thing to do. But I think herbs incorporated at the right time in one's life can certainly serve a role more than just taking pills. I think pills have a role when you're in end-stage disease, but hopefully if you incorporate herbs and roots and fresh vegetables and treat your food as a medicine, and this is borrowed from another podcaster, treat food as medicine, I think you may just avert end stage of any kind of disease where you would need pills.
Understood. And I just want to note, for the record, my husband found in 1906 Materia Medica from Squibb, which became, of course, a giant pharmaceutical company. But in 1906, many of the roots and herbs that, I've been talking about and that you just described were in the pharmacopoeia that pharmacists were using, and they were compounding, taking herbs and compounding them with gelatins or with other ways of creating pills or lozenges or suppositories or whatever, and that was medicine. In other words, the bifurcation of here's herbs over here and here are pills over there, that's a more recent 20th century phenomenon. I just wanted to know. Isn't that interesting?
Understood. And I've actually recently gotten the encyclopedia of herbal medicine, and it is one that I've started reading almost like a scientific book, like I would have been taking class in herbalism. Right. And there's 560 herbs and remedies described in this particular encyclopedia. And just the beginning of the book talks about the volatiles and the other types of oils that you can extract and how you extract them. It really teaches you also, how to extract and from the plant via water, via ethanol, when you're doing a tincture or oil, and each of these extractions obviously brings something different from any given herb or root, and then you kind of use them as you see fit.
Sorry to interrupt. How did your grandmother, who was using chicory flowers, extract them into oil?
So back in the old country in Bulgaria, we having olive oil was a luxury. Very few people could afford it, and even if you wanted to buy it, it wasn't in the stores, right? So she used to source it somehow from Greece in these metal cans, and that's all she used it for. She'd get a metal can, and she would just soak the flowers into the oil, and it gets this. It was becoming this pink, really gentle, completely different color because it was extracting the stuff from the flowers, right? Oh. And I, never really bothered at I don't know, 8 to 10 years old. Never bothered to ask her how she actually did it. It's probably recorded somewhere in her archives, or it was in her head.
Right.
But it is something that I started remembering because I read about chicory and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Now I know why she was doing that.
So basically, now putting your scientist hat on, it sounds like she was like macerating the flowers in oil, and that if you just like smush flowers in oil, you get some of the essence of the flowers into the oil. That's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, I think so. And it was, I'm pretty sure it was filtered, because when she's poured it into a cup or a spoon, it didn't seem like cloudy. So I would deduce by that she was filtering it before consumption.
Which theoretically you could do with cheesecloth, right? Or with muslin.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Of course. And I do a lot of oil extractions for myself, for mainly for cosmetic purposes. I've kind of switched mainly to home extracted oil. So I do extraction in olive oil, extraction in coconut oil, different in shea butter. So I've kind of practiced that, and you can do it with lavender, and you can do it with cinnamon. So there's multiple ways, but that's how you would do it. Yeah.
And then how do you extract the essence, say from fresh lavender into an oil? How do you do that? You smush it in a pestle and put the oil
in? So you would just, I recommend actually dry, just because fresh flowers sometimes bring, moisture, and moisture can bring to decay and mold in your extraction. So I recommend dry. And so you would just do, and you kind of have to experiment, right? 1-to-1 ratio or 1-to-2 ratio, depending. And you would just leave it for a few, depending on the oil. Sometimes oils extract slower, and you just leave it. I leave it in the warm drawer, in my oven, in the warm drawer, at the lowest temperature, like the proof temperature that you would use to, proof your yeast. And I would just leave it for 3-4 hours. And
super smart. That closed container or an open container?
No, I just open it and create. You can even do like a plate, and just to increase the surface to volume ratio.
I see. And then strain it through cheesecloth.
Through cheesecloth, like you said. And then if you're using olive oil, it would never harden. But if you're using, for example, coconut oil, at some point it just hardens, and you can travel with it. You can, it's hard.
Gotcha. All right. Well, now let's go to Star Anise. You talked about the flavor, and I confess I don't like the flavor of Star Anise. I don't like the smell. I know a lot of people do, but I'm fascinated with the medicinal properties, and I have learned since I began ingesting herbs and following this path to not expect everything to taste good. I've kind of let go of that. So tell me about the medicinal, you can't tell me about the medicinal properties because we'll both get arrested, but what is it you like about what are reputed in some cultures to be the health benefits of Star Anise? So,
and I'm happy to talk about it. And you're right, medicinal is a bit of a strong of a word, but health benefits, wellness benefits, I think all thereof. I don't know how much people know about Star Anise. It is what we consume is the fruit, and actually the dry fruit and the pods that have the seeds. I don't know if
we'll hold that right up to the camera so people can see it. That's so pretty.
Right. So this is what the part of Star Anise that we commonly consume. People having access to the tree, they can also use the bark and the leaves. But in the West, this is what we get. This tree grows up to 59 foot, so it becomes quite large. And it belongs to the evergreen family of magnolia. The Latin name Ilicum verum. Ilicum means allure or to seduce, to attract. So it has a meaning even in the Latin origin of the name. In Chinese, it's been part of Chinese cuisine, and it can be traced to the Song Dynasty as a food supplement, as a part of their cuisine. But also it can be traced to the Ming Dynasty as part of medicine, use of its medicinal purposes.
Isn't it used in 5-spice powder in Chinese cuisine?
It is. It is one of the five spice powder ingredients. And what's interesting is that in 2002, the Chinese Health Ministry recognized Star Anise as the first traditional Chinese medicine ingredient in their pharmacopoeia. So going back to what your husband found in the U.S. pharmacopoeia, they have now recognized it as an official member of their pharmacopoeia since 2002.
So what's it good for?
So what is good for is there's oils that are in the seed that I showed you. And these oils are, they're called volatile oils. In addition to these volatile oils, it has compounds like quercetin, and I think people have been more and more aware of what quercetin is like and what it's good for. Linalool, anethol is another ingredient that's quite well studied as a separate ingredient, was singly isolated from Star Anise extract. Shikimic acid is an interesting one. Shikimic acid is the main ingredient actually used in the production of Tamiflu, and Tamiflu being an anti-influenza drug, so it's officially sold for that. And Star Anise and shikimic acid are the main ingredient there. Gallic acid is prominent, limonene, and there's some acid, it's called anisyl acetone alcohol and aldehyde. Those three are included in the extraction. There's a 2023 review by Zoe. It is on PubMed, so it is peer-reviewed. And in there, Zoe and his colleagues went through all the different types of pharmacological properties that Star Anise has, and they kind of collated the information from decades. And they started with antioxidants. So in Petri dishes and in test tubes, they were able to measure antioxidant activity of Star Anise extract, and they demonstrated that it has the scavenger effect, which is what most antioxidants have.
Right.
So
they for a non-scientist, if I could just push you a little to summarize in language an English major would understand.
Certainly, and I apologize for the slang there, but it essentially, our bodies, as we age and as we're exposed to toxins, our bodies tend to create free radicals, and those free radicals tend to bind to proteins, to nucleic acids, and damage those naturally occurring, proteins and nucleic acids in our bodies.
Right.
And to prevent this damage, you want to get rid of those free radicals. And those free antioxidant properties of the Star Anise and a lot of other foods have those. Right. Essentially go in your bloodstream and look for those free radicals and kind of bind to them and extract them.
Oh, fantastic. So is it fair to say that the activity of these various acids and compounds in Star Anise goes through your blood and gets rid of the free radicals that can cause disease, like cancer, right? I mean, what are some of the diseases that emerge if you're not getting rid of the free radicals in your system?
Certainly, cancer has been shown. Some form of cancers can originate because of free radicals. That's one possibility. A lot of cancers are genetic.
Mhm.
But I would say that if you consume Star Anise extract, the chances of eliminating free radicals are higher than if you don't consume it. Let's put it that way. And I'm trying to walk a very fine line between recommending something that could be a panacea or seen as such versus just making people aware of what test tube experiments have shown. And,
test tube experiments show in vitro, right?
correct.
Show that it gets rid of free radicals, which
Correct.
cause disease.
Correct. And in the study that Zoe cited, in that study, they actually looked at different compounds, not just Star Anise, and different extractions of Star Anise to see which ones are more potent or most potent. But Star Anise extract is certainly a good antioxidant. I wouldn't say it's the only one you should be putting in your diet, but it's certainly, for me, because I love the taste,
Right.
It's an easy one to digest.
And so what is the most potent form of taking Star Anise for those who are listening to this and thinking, I too would like to get rid of free radicals and give myself the best chance of not getting disease?
So you can obviously cook with it. You can use, and I'll show it. I have this kind of a alcohol extract that you can use to add to cakes and other sweet.
But how did you create the alcohol extract? Again, just putting Star Anise in alcohol and letting it.
Vodka. I would say, vodka is a very, well, ethanol, but I mean, vodka is one that's pretty easy to source.
Right.
It's edible or drinkable. And
Right.
so you can use it to do an extraction at home. And the one I just bought mine, but you can certainly do.
Sorry to jump in, but if people listening want to make their own Star Anise alcohol extract, total permission to have a shot of vodka for your health, how would they do that? Like a few pods of Star Anise in a covered container of vodka, let it sit for a while. What are the steps?
Yeah, I have to experiment. Like I said, I haven't done my own extraction, so I would have to experiment or look on different social media platforms for recipes. It would be, you would soak it in, and my recommendation would be a dark glass container or a glass container in the dark.
Right.
It's just that, and you can see it by the one I bought in the store. It's in a dark container, just so it doesn't oxidate and broken down by sunlight.
And for people who find cooking with Star Anise daunting, which I do, probably the simplest way to just ingest it is tea, right?
Yes, and let me, before I go to tea, which I'd love to talk about, don't get me wrong, there's Star Anise, in addition to antioxidant activities, has anti-inflammatory activities. So it can actually, is shown to help with down-regulating the factors that cause cytokine storm.
Oh, wow.
There was a 2021 paper that came out in kind of the context of COVID, saying, well, there's a lot of things that COVID does, which is, one of them is cytokine storm, and Star Anise has been shown to calm down cytokine storm. It has antifungal properties as well, which is interesting and was proven on Petri dishes. It has antiviral, which I talked about, the Tamiflu component, but also has been shown to have anti-herpes activity, and that's pretty actually. In a study in 2011, the authors showed 99% in vitro activity against herpes virus.
Oh my God.
Astonishing.
That is in fact astonishing. I mean, that's one of those, Plamena, I keep running into this situation where I'll look at the peer review studies around some herb and it'll be like unbelievable effectiveness, right? These unbelievable numbers. If you got that in a lab, you'd be marketing it, right? I mean,
and this is the strange, I guess, strange from my perspective, is why is nobody really taking those herbs to the next level? Because all of these studies that I'm citing are either in vitro, in a test tube, petri dish, or in mice or rat. And I deliberately did a search last night on clinicaltrials.gov, and there's only one study that uses Star Anise mouthwash comparison against other herbal mouthwashes, and it's an Indian study. There's nothing else on the clinical stage.
Crazy. So in other words, there was a 99% result. I'm not sure if it was kind of improvement or eradication in mammals, right? Or in vitro, or in vitro.
This was in vitro on a petri dish. They had the virus, and they did a test where they put like discs, and then they saw essentially eliminated the virus in a dish. And this was a study by a group that was doing the research in University of Heidelberg in Germany. So and it was published on PubMed. So it's peer-reviewed article from 2011.
So just to if I may expand a little bit what you're saying, Plamena, it's crazy that no one took this incredible, promising initial result to a double-blind, controlled experiment with human beings, right? To see if people with herpes did better with the Star Anise. Is that what you're saying?
It is certainly strange, to say the least, that it hasn't piqued industry's interest to take it to the next level. I think you wouldn't go straight away to a large randomized study. You would have to kind of play around with the type of extraction or several different formulations and things like that to get to that point. But
nothing happened. Well, everybody, let's encourage people to try it if that's their problem and see if they get a good result, and anecdotally get back to us, because a lot of people have either herpes 1 or 2, right? And is it both types of herpes that it was effective against? Herpes simplex, cold sores. Yeah. Well, that's something people deal with a lot. So everybody anecdotally experiment with yourself, if this is your issue, because there's no side effects, right? Or you have to have a lot of Star Anise tea before you get side effects, correct?
Yeah.
Are people pretty safe having tea once or twice a day?
Yeah, I put it in my tea. I brew my tea in big pots in my Keurig machine, and I put 3-4 Star Anises in every pot. It just works for me. And before we go to tea, it's being studied for antibacterial properties. And what's cool about one of the studies that were published in 2017, again, all peer-reviewed articles, I can provide the source documentation for this. But these scientists found that when you add Star Anise extract, the oil extract, to known antibiotics, it has activity modifying effect. So they were suggesting in the study, well, what if this is the next level of treatment, especially for strains that are already proven to be antibiotic resistant? What if you combine the oil, Star Anise oil, with the antibiotics and kind of give them a boost as a possible treatment? But again, didn't go anywhere as well. So
interesting. So possibly could help antibiotics perform better, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and this article I found quite. These were clinical samples. They came from patients.
Well, sadly, we've run out of time. Is there anything in the last few minutes you'd like to say? We've got a minute or two to wrap it up here.
I don't want to make it all about tea or the tea we offer.
Tell people.
I encourage people to source Star Anise bulk, add it to their food, add it to their chicken broth, add it to their rice, add it to their stir fry. And if they're on the go, they're welcome to get our tea. We have one of our teas has Star Anise blended as part of it, and it's our Star Wish blend. And that's that. I encourage people to try it. Combine it with cinnamon. That might mellow the flavor that you were talking about. May
good idea.
Not be likable by everyone.
Good idea. And where do people find your teas, Plamena?
On essentialteas.live, LIVE.
Fantastic. Well, and lastly, before I let you go, if people do, I can visualize adding it to chicken broth. That's very interesting. That's easy. But how do you add it to rice? How do you cook with it? I mean, these are big pods. Like, do you grind them up? What do you do?
No, I just added it in like you would do with bay leaves. I added it in, I cooked my rice, and then at the end, I just pulled them out. And it does give it this specific anise flavor. So I have to forewarn you, it works for my family. I put 3 for 2 cups of rice, and it worked just like magic.
Delicious. Is that a traditional Bulgarian way to cook rice, or is that your own Plamena?
No, I think anise is just, I love it so much that I tried to put it in almost everything. Bulgaria, we didn't have Star Anise, so I wasn't exposed until I went to Germany.
Right.
So this is just my newest way of using it lately.
Well, I do have one final question because you are a scientist. I have noticed with a lot of these herbs that they do have multiple effects. They'll be antiviral, antibacterial, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. Is there some scientific reason for that, or is that just like God's random, blessing on us that they have multiple positive benefits?
I think because they contain so many different oils and different chemicals. Each chemical entity has its own action. When they're combined in one, the end effect has multiple actions. So when you get a pill, it's one chemical entity. When you get a spice or a root or like ginger or turmeric, it has multiple components, and each of them has its own action. And I think, to get back to what you said, it's God's will and God's gift to us to use them as we need them.
We're so lucky. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge and expertise with us. I love talking to people who are herbalists and tea compounders and also classically, conventionally trained scientists. It's the best of all worlds. There aren't that many of you, so I appreciate you. It's Plamena Dimitrov. It's essentialteas.live. Do I have that correct? And everyone run out and get Star Anise and tell you how you feel. This is Naomi Wolf. And remember to support our sponsors, Charlis.beauty and twc.health. And Plamena, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you so much, Naomi.
Bye-bye. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Naomi Wolf, and I'm so happy to be joining you all on Locals. Please join us at DailyClout on Locals. Unbelievable news, opinion, liberty lifestyle, which is helpful videos and blogs about how to get off the grid, do things cheaper, more organically, more holistically. We also have open debate. We bring people who may not agree with each other to talk to each other, which is so rare these days, to have the real discussions that are censored online. We also have incredible coverage of freedom around the world. Everything from the truckers' protests in Canada, when that was happening, to our launch of a bill which passed in 33 states to ban vaccine passports, to open schools, to end emergency law, coverage of censorship in Ireland, of vaccine passports and central bank digital currency in Europe, all the ways that the globalists are trying to restrict our liberties. And we've got amazing resources like Bill Camp, where you can send any state or federal bill through social media, press a button that'll explain it to you. Vote on it so you can show your rep or the bill sponsor how you feel about it. And you can basically stop bad bills and promote good ones and get them passed. And another amazing resource we've got is called Communities, which is a censorship-free, surveillance-free Facebook alternative. Again, that's Dr. Naomi Wolf. I'm CEO of DailyClout. Come join us, join the discussion, join the community here on Locals.